You guys have probably seen those little folded pieces of papers in the shapes of stars or animals or other shapes called origami. But what exactly is origami? Well, the art of paper folding, known as origami, may seem very simple at first, but it actually has a very deep and very interesting history behind it. Origami comes from the words ori, which means to fold, and kami, which means paper. What exactly is origami? Well, the basic definition is that it's a neat art created by folding pieces of paper together to form a sculpture. Your goal is to basically take a blank piece of paper and through folding techniques, you make a structure out of it. Origami is known as being a Japanese art, but other cultures have been known for paper folding, so that it's possible that this could have originated somewhere else besides Japan. Now, the exact origins of origami are unknown. That's because paper degrades very quickly, and it leaves very little evidence to suggest where it was invented or even who invented it. Now, according to origamiresource.com, paper was invented in China in the 1st century and it was brought over to Japan in the 6th century. And written records of that time period are very shaky, so we don't know if it got started in China or if origami started up in Japan. But one thing that we do know for sure is that in Japan is where origami became known as the famous art form that it is today. That's where it evolved into what it is today. Now, there used to be a bunch of different uses for origami, but the main use for it is as a form of art. Now, origami butterflies were used back in the 1800s during celebration of weddings to represent the bride and the groom. So there's kind of a little bit of a symbolic meaning there. And also, samurai warriors would exchange gifts adorned with a type of origami known as noshi, which is basically a good luck charm. And also in the 1800s, origami was used as a teaching tool in elementary schools. What they would do is they used it, the folded pieces of papers, they would make different geometric shapes and use that as a teaching tool to teach the children. Now, initially, paper was very expensive and it wasn't available to the public, and it was only used for formal functions. Now, there are 3 basic types of origamis. The first one is known as origami suki, and this is a folded piece of paper that accompanies a gift, and it's served as a certificate of authenticity. The second type is known as origami suki. Actually, the second one is actually known as origami noshi, which is basically a folded paper that accompanies gifts, and it's a good luck charm. That's what I was talking about with the samurai warriors when they would exchange gifts. The last one is known as origami tsutsumi, and this is basically just formal gift wrapping, and it's very simple and it symbolizes sincerity and purity. Now, there are a bunch of different ways to make origami models. They go from the very simple ones all the way to the ones that are really complicated. Obviously, the simple ones are the ones that require the least amount of steps, and the complicated ones are the ones that can take hours or even days to make. Now, for this, any paper can be used to make an origami model as long as it can hold a crease. Origami paper is sold in different sizes, and usually one side of it is colored and the other side is blanked, but they also have papers where both sides are colored, or even the papers have different patterns on them to make different kinds of art. And as far as tools go, people believe that none should be used, but recently it's become a little less strict. So people actually use scissors or even tweezers to make the small delicate folds that would be really hard to do with your hands. And so to kind of recap the whole process, you guys learned about the history of origami, the different types of origami, and the different tools and techniques that you use to make an origami model. Now, origami may seem very simple at first, and it might be meaningless if you don't know too much about it, but it's a very famous art form and it has a lot of cultural importance.